Jesus freak here. Now, the original idea behind this is something I can't remember where I got it, but it's something I think I can expand on. Now, someone pointed out a phrase that I have used multiple times, and that is Romans 13:1-2. Let every soul be subject unto the higher powers, for there is no power but of God. The powers that be are ordained of God. Whosoever therefore resisteth the power resisteth the ordinance of God, and they that resist shall receive to themselves damnation. And this person proposed that when you're referring to such a power that is established through a document, as opposed to simply existing through its own authority, that this governing document, if the governing body should conflict with the governing document, then the governing document still has the priority. And that's basically how, for example, we've generally run the United States, that, if the government goes rogue, it's usually been opined that whatever means may be necessary to combat that. This is why, for example, the Supreme Court has the ability to deem a law unconstitutional. Or, the executive has historically been able to say, I don't agree with that, I'm just going to ignore it, to check the power of Congress. It's the whole purpose behind the checks and balance system. Now, this idea that the governing document supersedes the governing body, I'm going to give you an example of that right out of the Bible. And that's in Galatians 1, where Paul says, but though we or an angel from heaven preach any other gospel unto you than that which we have preached unto you, let him be accursed. As we said before, so say now again, if any man preach any other gospel unto you than that which ye have received, let him be accursed. And this is literally an example of governing bodies, be it the human governing bodies of the church or divine governing bodies, who are, of course, less than God himself, but are still heavenly authority over humanity. And Paul says, look, I don't care if an angel tells you to do something that goes against the scriptures. In other words, the governing document, which I'm holding right in my hand, is the governing document of the church, and arguably of all humanity, supersedes the governing body. God can't contradict himself, so he's not going to orchestrate a coup on himself. But I'm using this as an example to suggest that it's not unscriptural if you feel that the governing body is in conflict with the governing documents, to take the governing documents as superior over the governing body. In other words, as we say it, the Constitution is supreme over the government as an entity of people, in the same way that Scripture is supreme over humanity. This might be a sort of weird way to put it, but the idea is, if things get to a point where it's rogue actors going against the Constitution and against the established body of law, it doesn't matter if they're the actual government, that they still need to be fought off the same way. There's a saying, 4 boxes to use to defend liberty: soap, ballot, jury, ammo. And I said, I said this in YouTube comments, it says soap, ballot, jury, ammo. We're on the 3rd box. Pray you don't have to use the 4th. Because, as a pacifist, live by the sword, die by the sword comes from the Gospel of Matthew, more or less. I don't want to be pushed into that, because I can't fight because it goes against my beliefs. But in non-physical ways, I still can fight, and I will. Jesus freak out.